Hi, everybody. Thank you, Tammy. This has been just such a great event for me. I've been to lots of events like this, and the last 3 speakers were amazing. But I'm really looking forward to hearing all of this panel's stories about narcolepsy. I'm going to just tell my story a little bit. I have to stand. I'm not sure why, but so I'm a person with narcolepsy. I'm on the board of Wake Up Narcolepsy. I have had narcolepsy symptoms for over 30 years. I was a normal kid, played baseball and basketball and did everything normal. High school was great, totally basketball player, golfer. And then it was when I got to college, I went to school at Northern Illinois University on a golf scholarship. So I played golf in college, got my college paid for, which was amazing. And somehow in college, I started falling asleep a lot. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was overworked. I studied a lot. I played golf a lot. I never took a nap, ever. Naps were like, you cannot take a nap. My mom is from Germany. She said, no naps allowed. If you're awake, get up, get going, got to get something done. Can't sleep your life away. Well, ironically, I ended up getting narcolepsy. So anyway, my mom is my biggest supporter, though. So in college, I was falling asleep in classes. I'm sure we all know what that feels like. I was writing my dreams in my notes. I had vivid dreams. I had sleep paralysis. Didn't know a name to it. I just got used to it. And then after college, I decided to become a golf professional. I thought, I want to play at the highest level in the world, the LPGA. I don't know if you've heard of the LPGA or not, but a lot of people haven't. I don't know. So anyway, I qualified for the LPGA right out of college and thought I would give it a year or two. And I was out there for 3 years, and during my second year was when I was finally diagnosed with narcolepsy because I had cataplexy. So I didn't know. I had lots of muscle weaknesses over the years, but it was my second year on the LPGA that I started having full cataplexy attacks, and that's when I knew something was wrong with me. All through college, when I was sleepy, I was falling asleep driving. I was stopped by police officers. I went to doctors. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. So I didn't think anything was wrong with me. But when the cataplexy hit, that's when the problem. I knew something was wrong, and so I was finally diagnosed with narcolepsy. And to be honest, I was relieved because I thought I had like a muscle disorder or like Lou Gehrig's disease. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to play golf again. So when I walked out of the doctor's office, I was relieved and very happy that it was narcolepsy. I had a cataplexy attack on the stairs down. But anyway, so there was going to be treatment and I was going to be fine, right? No problem. Well, little did I know it took a long time before I actually got control of my symptoms. And eventually I did get control, and I ended up playing a very, very long career on the LPGA Tour. Didn't make that much money, but I was out there for 25 years, so that was good. Thank you. But the keys to my success was finding a sleep specialist, somebody that had experience with narcolepsy. I went for 5, maybe 8 years with terrible medication, tried all the medications, nothing worked. I gained a ton of weight. I weighed 225 pounds, and I was falling asleep everywhere, and I had to hire a caddy to drive me around. But anyway, once I found a sleep specialist that actually knew what he was doing, and he helped me a lot. And so it's really important that you find somebody that knows, has experience with people with narcolepsy and can prescribe some good medications for us or behavioral changes. In the year 2000, which was 25 years ago, I was the first time I met people with narcolepsy. And that was really a game changer for me because I listened to the ones that were having some success, and I did what they did, which was drink water, eat protein, And, this is going back 25 years ago, and nobody was talking about it. There was only a handful of people. And so we are so lucky to be in this day and age. Now we have speakers talking about behavioral changes, and we have all these new medications for us. 25 years ago, this did not exist. I don't even know how I did it, because now I have such good medication and I'm so awake. Now I'm not eating the right way, so now I got to start eating better again. My medication's so good I don't take care of myself as well. But anyway, we all know what it's like. So I played golf for so long because I didn't know that I could hold a real job. That's how scared I was about having this narcolepsy. But now I actually have a real job, and the last 7 years I've been teaching golf, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to actually, stay awake all day, but I find a way, and, I still take a nap once in a while. I go to my car, sleep in the car, nobody bothers me. It all works out. You just find a way. But I'm definitely grateful for the medications that we're on. So I love my job. I love teaching golf, and it's a really great thing to play. So anyway, the greatest thing about being here, though, is to listen to other people's stories. And so I can't wait to hear everybody's story here. And hopefully we can all learn from each other. So this is Monique.
I have to write it down. I cannot. My brain goes blank when I'm nervous. So, and then how do I? Oh, okay. There. All right. Hi, I'm Monique. I am a youth services librarian in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I run story times for all ages, teen programs, and I make a lot of chaotic crafts with toddlers. I'm also a single mom with 2 teens, Life, who's 19, and Gideon, who is 15. And we also share our home with a hairless dog named Gunther. He's on there. My kids don't like pictures of themselves, so Gunther's on the bottom. And then 2 cats, that's Dr. Simon Ghost Pepper and Stormy. And then we also have a whole bunch of plants in various stages of life, because I didn't realize you can either be a plant mom or a cat mom, but I'm trying to be both, and it's not working too well. But I also have type 1 narcolepsy. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy in 2022, but like most people with narcolepsy, my symptoms started long before my diagnosis. For years, I struggled with the excessive daytime sleepiness, sudden muscle weakness, nightmares, hallucinations, automatic behaviors, brain fog, and the constant feeling of being misunderstood. My sleepiness got worse as I got older, but whenever I mentioned it to my doctors, it was dismissed as something normal, because each part of my life had a different response to why being tired was normal. Single mother, working full-time, going to school full-time, which I'm not going to school full-time anymore. That's too much. But over the years, I just assumed that what I experienced was normal, because everyone's like, I'm so tired. It's normal. I just learned workarounds and made the most productive use of my time. The first time I found a doctor who actually wanted to listen to me and help figure out what was going on, I sat in the car after that appointment, and I just cried with relief. She didn't find narcolepsy, but she found my blood work was abnormal for my thyroid count and said the medication would make me feel like a brand new person and give me energy. Spoiler alert, it didn't, but luckily she kept digging. And several years later, and multiple diagnoses later, she referred me to a sleep specialist, and the sleep specialist asked me a lot of questions. At the end, he said he was almost certain that I had cataplexy, so he'd be very surprised if I didn't have narcolepsy. And I didn't understand what cataplexy is. The textbook definition is muscle weakness or loss of muscle tone, and that doesn't really explain much to me. But my doctor, which I loved hearing everyone who's spoken so far say asking things differently helps, because it really does. My doctor asked things differently. He asked if my knees ever buckled while laughing, if I ever had slurred speech while I'm tired, if my head is ever too heavy for my neck. And yes, I didn't realize those that like having to sit down when I laughed meant that I had cataplexy, but it was starting to make sense. So even though my sleep doctor was confident that I had narcolepsy, I was still doubtful because I still didn't really know very much about narcolepsy, and unfortunately what is only in the movies, which is very inaccurate. So the symptom that is most obvious to other people is my excessive daytime sleepiness, and my kids get a kick out of it, and they always joke about, oh no, we're going to lose this board game because mom fell asleep, because for some reason I only win board games when I'm doing automatic behaviors, and I don't know, I wish I could transfer that to being awake, but and I'd fall asleep all the time. When my ex would wake me, he'd say, I would be like, oh, I was dreaming, and he'd be like, you can't have been dreaming, it's only been 2 seconds, that's not a dream, that's a hallucination. So that verbiage, like changing the verbiage, does help. That verbiage led me down a rabbit hole, and that's where I found the narcolepsy symptoms, hallucinations being part of the verbiage, and that was the first time I actually thought, okay, maybe this is what I have. So I finally I put it off for too long, because I finally scheduled a sleep study with the MSLT and got the official diagnosis of narcolepsy type 1 with cataplexy. So that was a huge relief, but it was also the beginning of a lot of learning. Because now that I know what's going on, life is still hard, honestly, but it makes a lot more sense because there's a direction to go in. And living with narcolepsy as a single parent with a full-time job, I'm in grad school now, not full-time, and navigating other health issues can really sometimes feel like too much. And there are days that just getting through story time, like not even a day of work, but just story time, is a small miracle. And there are days when I forget words and forget why I walked into a room, or I sit down just for a minute and my body's like, it's bedtime now. And I don't take naps, so I've had to learn what rest really means to me. Sometimes just sitting still, letting my body decompress. Sorry, doom scrolling does help me sometimes, just like turning off my brain. And sometimes that's enough, and sometimes it's not. I don't do naps because that does not help me. I've learned to be more intentional about how I spend my energy and who I spend my time with, because there are energy vampires. If you are familiar with the spoon theory, which other people have talked about it today, I'm a spoonie. I have a limited number of spoons, and half of them are bent. So after my diagnosis, I did find the Narcolepsy Discord server, which that is a treasure trove of information. If no one has been on there, it's a lot of people just gathering and saying what's going on with them and sharing and connecting. And through there, I learned that there's narcolepsy conferences, which I never knew about. And like, I wish doctors would also like give that information out. But I went to my first one in 2023, and it was there that I met my first person in real life that I've ever met with narcolepsy type 1. I mean, as far as I know, because I don't really lead with I have narcolepsy, but Solomon, and he's here today. And he is also from Indiana, so we traveled to Colorado, and that's how I met my first fellow narcoleptic Hoosier. I cried a lot at that first conference because I was so happy to meet people who just got it. Like, it's so validating. And since then, Solomon and I have traveled to multiple other narcolepsy events together, and I really value his input and feedback. It's really nice to have someone that gets it. We stay connected. He's from Bloomington, I'm from Fort Wayne, so we're not like close in distance, but it's nice to just like know someone's on the other side of the phone. But we've since traveled to multiple other narcolepsy events, and he's put a lot of effort and research into advocating and has written several books. There is so much more to this diagnosis than people realize. After years of being told to just try harder, it's incredibly validating to meet other people who understand because they struggle with similar battles. So I know a lot of people come to the events for the science. It is interesting. Like, I do like science, but for me, the sense of community and support is what really renews my energy. Connecting with people that have stories like mine is a moment of huge relief. Like, I'm not alone in this. I'm not bad at life. I have a neurological disorder. I used to feel so much guilt guilt about not doing more, guilt about saying no, guilt about not being the mom I thought I should be. But through advocacy and community, I've started replacing guilt with grace, and I'm learning to let myself just be. And that's part of why I tell my story now, because I want other people, especially people who are constantly told to just push through, it's okay to rest. Their fatigue is not a moral failing. Your brain isn't broken, it's just doing something different. And then, somebody already changed it. Okay. What helps me is having a routine. We've talked about that today. What helps me is asking for help. I mean, it helps me, but it's also really, really hard for me. I have a hard time asking for help, but it's useful. What helps me is my community, my pets, my kids, my work family. They always make sure I have enough snacks to get through the day. Narcolepsy people, the narcolepsy community, friends who will hop in the car with me and drive 10 plus hours on a road trip and stop to touch Mothman's shiny hiney. People that just get it. Like, surrounding myself with people that get it is so good. And they just give me a lot of grace and snacks on my low spoon days, and it helps me, like, give myself grace. Having a planner helps. Color coding things makes me feel like I have a little bit of control over the chaos. Music helps. That's a big one. Like, being able to recognize what songs will wake up that part of my brain, so like that I can be awake enough to drive or clean the house or do homework. Like, it's different genres of music, but like getting to know what type of music wakes up what certain types of my brain helps. Eating intentionally helps. Humor helps. Okay. Closing thoughts. Okay. If I could tell newly diagnosed me one thing, it'd be this: you're not lazy, you're not broken, and you're not alone. This is a lifelong condition, but that doesn't mean it has to be a lonely one. You can build a life around narcolepsy that is still rich and vibrant and funny and beautiful. You might have to rewrite your story, but you can still be the author. And if nothing else, know this, all of you: you made it to this summit in person or virtually. You showed up, and that's what matters. And thank you. Wait. Thank you.
Still on? Yep. Great. Monique, that's a very good presentation. It's nice to hear somebody else's journey and what you went through, and so I think that you're very incredible. So thank you. I'm kind of animated, so I have to stand up. Like, I feel like confined here. Can we do first? Okay, so my story is a bit unique from probably some of the others that you've heard before. First of all, my name is Rorey Smith. I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved to the Washington, D.C. area. I'm a lawyer for the federal government there. And so my life has been one of where I've been in control. You know, I've been able to plan things, and things have gone the way I expected until I hit 50. And yes, I know you're surprised. Well, but actually I'm 55 now. But at the time, I started to not be able to carry groceries. I couldn't walk down the block. I was sleeping all the time. And I knew that there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what. So I went on the journey of, going through a bunch of doctors. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. But let me just give you just a quick review of kind of, if I had to describe myself, what it would be, and then you'll learn that through my story. So one, I'm definitely a thriver. I used to say survivor, but really I am a thriver. I really am, and I'm proud of myself for being able to say that. I'm resilient. Obviously, I'm a person with narcolepsy. I'm an advocate for myself and for others, and I'm an educator and a learner. So this is kind of my story. Before October of 2020, I was diagnosed with undiagnosed Lyme disease. So that was kind of what was happening in the beginning, where I couldn't carry groceries and I was very weak and things like that. And it took me probably about a year to get better with that, because I had it in my body for so long, it had ravaged it. But then those symptoms didn't go away. I started to have neurological symptoms. And by that, I mean my skin started to burn. I get like water would feel like it's dropping down my legs. I couldn't remember things. All these things were happening at the same time. And so my doctor at the time, who was a Lyme doctor, she's like, well, I think you might have neurological Lyme, but I'm not comfortable treating you for that. So you need to go find somebody else. I'm like, oh, great. Now, who do I find for that? So I did some researching, as lawyers do, and I found a doctor who had some knowledge of Lyme, and he was a neurologist. So the first day I walk into his office, he goes over all my labs and all my tests. He's like, I'm sorry to tell you, but this isn't due to Lyme. He's like, I don't know what it is. He's like, but it's not due to Lyme. He's like, it's something that's rare, but we just don't know, right? Because we would have found it by now. I'm like, oh, great. So he sent me through a series of tests. I mean, it probably went through, 4 or 5 MRIs, and I think I had like 39 lab tests. I mean, it was just on and on and on. So finally he says, well, I was in his office one day, and he's like, well, your lab tests are interesting, aren't they? Well, a doctor tells you that, like, you're like, oh gosh, now what, right? And so he tells me, he's like, well, you have CIDP. I'm like, what? He's like, you have chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. I'm like, I have never heard of that in my life. I'm like, well, so what do we do about it? He's like, well, it's a lifelong condition, and so you're going to, go through this phase where you're going to be very weak right now, and then you'll get a little bit better. So this condition is an autoimmune condition that attacks my peripheral nervous system. So basically what happens is the signal that goes from your brain through your spine and makes your limbs move is delayed because the body's attacking that part. And so at that point, I told my doctor, I'm like, if you do not find out exactly what's wrong with me, I'm going to be in a wheelchair within a month. I mean, it was just a very strong decline. I couldn't really move my toes and things like that. I couldn't write anymore. I mean, it was just awful. At the same time, I was falling asleep more. But I thought it was just due to this new condition. But then I started to fall asleep at work. I was in the middle of at a conference table, and I could feel myself kind of like jerk a little bit, and it'd be like maybe 15, 20 seconds. And I was hoping to God, I'm like, oh, I hope nobody else sees this because I felt this, right? And I thought it wasn't real at first, but it kept happening. There really is something wrong. And so what's good in my situation is that the neurologist who treats me for CIDP is in the same suite as the neurologist that's the head of the sleep department at this hospital. So I went to see him. When I went to see him, he's like, well, I don't really know what's wrong with you. He's like, but we need to rule out sleep apnea. So, you've heard that right today. That's the first thing they go to. So I had 4 sleep tests. None of them showed apnea. But I did have an MSLT. But what's weird about that one is that although I was quick to fall asleep, like I think the average was like 1.8 minutes, I never went into REM anytime. Another thing that was kind of interesting, when you take that sleep test, there's like 5 of them, and each time the technician would come in, she's like, well, did you ever fall asleep? I said, oh, yeah, I fell asleep. She's like, well, about how long do you think it took you? Each time I said 10 minutes, which was like clearly off, right? I mean, I was out pretty fast. In fact, I think one of them was 0. That's how quick it was. But because I never fell asleep, the doctor's like, well, I think you have idiopathic hypersomnia, IH. I'm like, okay, fine. So, he gave me modafinil as my first treatment. And it worked for about 4 months or so. But then I started to have these weird dreams at night. And they were very vivid. They were like 3D. And sometimes they were animals, sometimes they were people, but whatever it was, it scared me to death. And I'll tell you about one that it just really stands out in my mind, and it felt like it was real. So I was at the White House, and they were trying to land Air Force One. And, I mean, this plane was just huge, right? And I saw it like circling. This is like in my dream. It was circling and circling. And I think, oh my God, this wing is going to hit me. I dove off my bed and hit the wall. Yes, and it really hurt. And then I slammed to the wall and got to the ground, and I couldn't move. I was aware that, like, I was on the ground, but I couldn't move. So when I saw my doctor the next time, he's like, okay, you have narcolepsy. Like, like that convinced him right away that I did. And so I've been on that journey with that. But so now I have CIDP and I have narcolepsy. So not only am I weak and I'm tired, I'm sleepy and I don't remember anything, and I have all these things going on. So I think maybe this, so I got a third autoimmune condition, which is called Sjogren's. It's an autoimmune condition that attacks your mucous membranes in your body. So like your eyes, your mouth, your throat, your skin, your joints, that kind of thing. And so sometimes when I take my medicine for narcolepsy, I choke because my throat was too dry for me to swallow the pills. Sometimes it feels like sand's just being thrown in my eyes because they're so dry. So I'm dealing with all these things, right, on top of trying to remember, did I take my narcolepsy medicine or did I not? And so I just want to bring home to you the point that many of us who have narcolepsy, we also live with other conditions. And that is really just very important to me because I realize, we kind of like deal with additional things. And that's one of the reasons why, I'll get to that I helped create a support group at Wake Up Narcolepsy for people that have narcolepsy along with comorbidities. But going back to my daily schedule, I was having a conversation with my primary care doctor, and I'm like, look, I have all these things I have to do. I have all these medications, all these doctor's visits, but I cannot keep up, and I was working full time. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I'm just, the weekend comes and I sleep Friday night all the way through Sunday. And he's like, well, I don't really know what to tell you to do because, your doctors have asked you to do these things. I said, look, we're going to have to go through my daily schedule and figure out what can I not do and I'll still be able to function. And so what you see here on the slide, you might not be able to see it all, but you get the idea, is I put down everything that I have to do every day and through the week. And you can see X's are along most of them. So like when I get up in the morning, I do bright light therapy. I have a vest that I have to use that pounds my chest so that it gets the mucous membranes out. So Sjogren's has dried out my lungs and stuff, so it's hard for it to get out, so I have to use that. There's a nebulizer I have to use, and I also have lymphedema, but it's unusual. It's like around my chest and in my arms. And so I have yet a suit for that. I have to put that on. That's like 40 minutes. And this is all before I'm getting ready for work. And then I have to remember to put in, eye drops in my eyes. I'm like, I have to remember I have to take my medication. So I take my medication, and then, of course, work is going on and everything's really busy. And of course, I have to remember, did I take my afternoon medications? And then I'm dealing with, a doctor calling me saying, we have to change the appointment time. I'm like, well, which doctor is this? I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me. And then I have the specialty pharmacy calling me, right, and saying, well, when do you want the delivery? I'm like, didn't I just have the delivery? I mean, all these things were going on, right? So this is kind of why I created this chart. Actually, it kind of, I don't know about you, but it exhausts me just looking at it. And when I showed this to my doctor, he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I don't know how you do it. And so we kind of went line by line with each one of them and came up with some things that maybe I could get rid of. Like, for example, the vest that I would have to use in the morning and at night, I can choose one, right? Like either morning or night. Another vest, that's also 2 times a day. But again, I don't have to do that every day anymore. I can just do it like maybe 3 days. So just things like that, it may seem very little, but it means so much, right? Just to be able to find a way to make it so that you can live your life. So this is my schedule. And so if I'm standing upright, that's a good day. I'll go to the next slide here. Oops. I don't go back. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what do I do about all this? Okay, what do I do about all this? Well, I decided that through trial and error that I had so many doctors and they were not speaking to one another. I mean, I had to be the orchestrator for all of them, saying, oh, did you see this doctor's notes? Did you see this doctor's notes? And I realized, I need to get these doctors talking to one another. Well, remember, I started by telling you that my CIDP doctor was also in the same suite with the doctor that is my sleep doctor. Well, there's other doctors in that suite. So that's all these doctors, for most of the part, are in the same network. Oh, how wonderful that is, right? Because they can look in the same chart and see what the other doctor said. And when I go to their appointments, they have looked at all the notes. They know what another doctor said, what medications they prescribed, and it just makes my life so much easier. But you can see here, in the middle, you have myself plus my primary care doctor, which ends up in better treatment. That's how I look at it. And so we're partners. It's not like, the doctor's up here and I'm down here. Like, we have to all work together to get a good result because I have such a complex history. And so that's another thing I wanted to make sure that you all think about, and that is that, really, your body, you're your own expert, and really, you teach the doctor. You teach the doctor how you live, how you want to live, not let the doctor tell you how they think you should live. I think that's really, really important. And just do your homework when you go see the doctor. Make sure that you know what's going on with you. I think everybody who has a condition, you have a responsibility to know your condition. You can't just leave it up to your doctor, particularly conditions that are rare. And I think that's only fair. You can't expect them to know everything. Just like, when I practice law, I don't know every area of law, right? So you have to help them out. But when you do that, the result is so great because they start to respect you. And they don't see you just as their patient. In fact, I had one doctor who said, "Rorey, I consider you my friend." I'm like, oh my gosh, like a doctor is saying this to me, and I see them taking extra steps to make sure that I'm okay. Like if, one doctor says it's gonna be 2 months for me to get in, they're like, oh, no. You're gonna be in 2 weeks, things like that. And so I think it's really important for you to form your own network, whether it's your healthcare providers, maybe it's your family, maybe it's friends, maybe it's a support group, whatever you can find, you just have to build that network to make your life more meaningful. And now I've done all of this, I can say that I thrive, and I really am living my best life. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Rorey. Yeah, I love how organized you are. And I know so many people with narcolepsy, we compensate for it by being exceptional organizers because we have to be, right? And so my name is Phebe. I have type 2 narcolepsy. I was diagnosed 12 years ago. I live in Denver, Colorado. I was diagnosed 12 years ago. I was one of the lucky ones who was diagnosed shortly after symptom onset, like within a year. And what I really want to share today is how the way I related to my narcolepsy evolved over time. So, show of hands, who was diagnosed recently? I would consider past couple years recent. Yeah. So first off, congrats on diagnosis. You're not alone. I'm so glad you're here. And this message is for you especially. This message is also for my former 16-year-old self who needed someone to guide her and didn't have that. So, reality check. There's no way to sugarcoat a diagnosis like narcolepsy or IH. To hear you have a lifelong, incurable chronic illness. But when a doctor gives you one diagnosis, you actually get something else too. So you have the diagnosis, but what you also get is a narrative about the diagnosis, a set of beliefs, biases, voices. And what I learned, the most important lesson I learned having lived with narcolepsy for 12 years is that my story and the way I relate to my narcolepsy is more important and more indicative of my success and happiness in life than the reality and challenges of my symptoms. So, for those of you in this room without narcolepsy, let me paint a picture of what my baseline unmedicated narcolepsy felt like and how my waking world was turned upside down when I was 16. I felt imprisoned in my own body, in a thick fog of sleepiness that I applied most of my waking effort fighting against being pulled under. The internal monologue for 2/3 of my day consisted of the following mantras. how am I going to stay awake for the next 10 minutes and the next 10 after that? What can I fidget with or keep myself busy with in order to stay awake? Where is the closest cup of coffee? As if that would help. Where is the nearest spot, hopefully nearby, where I can sneak in a nap? And what chance do I have of being disturbed? I struggled junior and senior year of high school, pretending to take notes by putting my head down so I could sleep, taking restroom breaks so I could go nap on the toilet, getting home from school and napping until dinner. You get the picture. So, show of hands, how many people in this room have narcolepsy or IH? All right, too many to count. That's great. So can I just say, and this was in Rorey's slide too, resilience. These are some of the most resilient people you will ever meet. Can we just honor that and hold space for that? The things that we go through, what we do to cope, we are strong. And I haven't met a person with narcolepsy who's not a force to be reckoned with. So, yeah. You all already know what I'm talking about. I'm just making space for it. Because there needs to be space for that and an acknowledgement of that. So, early diagnosis. So, I'm 16. I get this horrible diagnosis. My family and doctors, they were uninvolved beyond just take a pill, take a stimulant. The doctor actually told my mom I would grow out of it. I sincerely hope he's no longer practicing. So I felt totally alone and unsupported. When I was first diagnosed, I felt devastated and like my life was over. No one was there to tell me otherwise or help walk me through it. And I wasn't on the right medications, and I also had this internalized negative narrative. And it makes me want to throw up right now just thinking of what that was. But that story, I sincerely felt like I am damaged and limited because of this. I'll never be truly happy and successful because of this. That shaped the first 8 years of my diagnosis. And I let it. I didn't realize things could be different. But it reached a point where I had to confront what I had. And I distinctly remember the moment I realized things needed to change. So I think I was 23, working remotely during COVID. I went to lay down for one of my 4 to 5 naps of the day. It was not even noon. At the time, I was on the highest dose of armodafinil, and that morning had already consumed about half a mason jar full of the cold brew I prepared religiously. If you know, you know. I put my head down and immediately had hypnagogic hallucinations, fell asleep for 15 minutes, and dreamt of ballerinas. When I perked back up, my first thought was, there's something deeply, terribly wrong here. I don't want to live like this anymore. This is not working for me. I went over to the mirror. I saw the dark circles under my eyes and decided no one was going to fight for me or do this but me. In my case, I had to take the first step. So the first steps, that looked like finding an online support group. I met real other people with narcolepsy. Actually, shout out to Rorey here. He was one of the first people with narcolepsy that I met. Online support group, I met real people with narcolepsy. And then I heard about this thing called sodium oxybate. Yeah, I heard about this from my peers, not my doctors. I'm like, why not? Why hadn't I often wonder how much easier living with narcolepsy would have been in high school and college had I had access to this, had I heard about this sooner. So then the quest began to get this, this missing piece. It's the nighttime med. So the quest for that began. And then I needed a new sleep study because we realized the one that I had got done when I was 16, I was nowhere to be found. So I had to start from scratch in order to get coverage for this medication. So in my early 20s, I saw 3 different sleep specialists. I did 3 new MSLT sleep studies. My early 20s, they were a traumatic and confusing whirlwind, on and off medications, in and out of sleep labs and doctors' offices. Yeah, eventually I got what I needed and lived to tell the tale narrowly. So yeah, I've been through a lot, and I have some resources to share with you now. Yeah. All right, so the big one, EMDR. So EMDR, it's basically a type of therapy used for trauma. So this really helped with my the medical trauma that I had in my early 20s. So I would and a lot of us have medical trauma, right? I would definitely recommend this for you if you have medical trauma, or if you have like very stubborn emotions or beliefs that are related to trauma. It's very effective. And EMDR helped me break the story down that I am damaged and limited because of this. Because when I interrogated that story, it's like, okay, what does that even mean? Like, can you quantify damage? Can you quantify limited? No, you can't. It's just a mean voice. It's just nonsense. It's just a sad lie. So yeah, I felt so much relief and freedom when I realized what my story was, that it was nonsense, and how I could change it. So yeah, and then the next routines. There's been a lot of talk about this today. In Dr. Shelby Harris's talk, I was like, oh, I feel so called out right now, because I'm like, this girl's got a morning routine, like a night routine, like diet, exercise, everything. It really helps. Like if you automate doing things that, like, find what works for you, and then if you automate that, it's easier to do when you're tired, like making those routines and habits. And then, okay, these are 2 books that really helped me. The first one, so Essentialism, that book taught me how to do less. And Set Boundaries, Find Peace, that book taught me how to say no. So Essentialism, the central message is less but better. It redefines productivity as alignment with your values, not work output. Success is doing what matters, not doing it all, and doing the right things, not more things. So that was a game changer for me. And then second one, Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab. So the art of boundary setting, that's a critical skill for us PWNs because we have limited bandwidth and energy. This book, it provides a ton of scripts and examples to say no that are easy to put in practice. Or, you could ask ChatGPT for like a summary of the scripts. I've done that. It's really helpful. And yeah, I have so many of my PWN friends, they say they feel guilty for canceling plans, asking for accommodations, or needing extra rest. But newsflash, like, boundaries aren't selfish, they're self-respect. So don't wear yourself out or get sick just because you don't know how to say no. Read that book. So in closing, so I'm a poet. I actually have a degree in poetry. So I'll close with a metaphor. A diagnosis is not a label, it's a roadmap. By being vocal and sharing our experiences and resources, we offer shortcuts to one another on a winding path. Together, we can turn our collective hard truth into a hopeful reality. Because even if the truth isn't hopeful, the telling of it is.
this working? Yes, great. Phoebe, that was great. I learned something from all three of you guys, and it's so important for us to share these things with each other so we can inspire each other and feel better. So does anybody have any questions for any of us? I hope you have lots of questions. Yes.
I just have a comment that the EMDR, I've recently gone through that. That is amazing. So my therapist actually went and got extra training to make sure, because he didn't ever do it on anyone with narcolepsy. He went through the extra training for me to make sure he could support me through it. Thank you. So I don't know if you didn't hear me, the EMDR is amazing. So my therapist went through extra training for it to make sure he wasn't triggering anything. It does trigger things, but you have to go through the emotion. Yeah, so I mean, I'd have my cataplexy account, my attacks and my sleep attacks in the office as I was doing it with him. But after you go through it, you just, things change. It reshapes how you think things. So
Yeah, and I would definitely add EMDR. It's not for everyone, and do your research. But when it's for you, and it really helps.
Has anybody else ever done any EMDR work for anything?
I didn't do EMDR. My therapist, she does the Cortina method, which she described as the next step to EMDR. But she does a lot of traveling to help veterans come over their trauma, and so that's what I've done. But she did describe the results as similar to EMDR, but a different path for it. It's helpful. It really is.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Ortiz earlier mentioned that you need to find a therapist that works for you. I know my sister has had a lot of trouble with finding the right therapist, and so I think it's important not to give up and to just keep trying other ones, and maybe you can find something that works. Same with sleep doctor, sleep specialist. Got to find the right one. Any other questions?
Okay. Oh, there we go. I think I had a 2 for type of question. So maybe if any of you had come up with a good elevator pitch for explaining your narcolepsy to others, because we kind of lose folks if we talk too long about it, and then they don't understand, and then if we are too brief, then they don't understand. So a nice elevator pitch maybe, and then also tips for in the workplace and things and just life, cataplexy, when you feel it, maybe tips that you've used to maybe beat that feeling, because you kind of have to keep yourself together in public and things, so it would be best if maybe you didn't hurt yourself out and about by yourself or whatever. So I was thinking tips and elevator pitch are my questions.
Yeah, it's just. So elevator pitch. I do best by describing what's going on. And so I will say, imagine yourself not having slept for 3 or 4 days. How does that make you feel? And people will describe that to me. I'm like, well, that's how I feel every day, all the time. So it kind of resonates with them like that. I know it's kind of simplified, but it really gets their attention, and they get the idea. Let's see. And your other question was, yes, yes, tips on how to keep yourself, from doing something crazy, I guess. So for me, I used to, not anymore, thank goodness, because of the medication, but I used to have sleep attacks around the clock, and it would be the same time every day. So they would start at 11, 1, 3, 5, 7. every single day just like that. And I could feel them coming on. Initially, I couldn't feel it. But then I started to learn, oh, this is what's happening. So I was afraid before, but then I realized what it felt like and what it was. So I wasn't as afraid. But I also would know when that would happen, and so I should make sure that I'm in a place where I'm safe. So I guess that's a tip.
Yeah, as far as tips for me, like, I would say anything that's grounding or like brings you back to your senses. Like, I'm chewing gum right now. You know, it can kind of help with wakefulness and be aware of your own body. As far as elevator pitch, that's tough, but I will get back to you. It'll probably be a metaphor. So we'll connect.
My elevator pitch is pretty similar to Rory's. I don't really actually try to explain it because people are not capable of understanding it unless they've gone through it. And it's hard to change people's minds when they have seen the movies and think that's what it is. But just like feeling like if you're not narcoleptic, like not sleeping for 48 to 72 hours, and then like my son is always like, that's not possible. You wouldn't be able to function. I'm like, exactly. Like, you won't be able to function. Like, that's how I am every day. And then tips, like for the workplace, like I'm lucky, I think, with my job. I'm a librarian, so I have a variety of duties. So like, if I'm at my desk and I start getting sleepy, I can go walk around, or if I'm like, we have a sitting and standing desk, like it's easy for me to be mobile if I start feeling something coming on. But like, I do feel, so it's unfortunate that it takes so long to get diagnosed, but I do feel like people become resilient and get to learn their body and like the workarounds because nobody else is helping them. But even without realizing it, people learn workarounds. So like I didn't realize sitting down when I laugh, or like even changing the way that I laugh, like not letting it get so deep, like into like I'll still laugh, but I don't let it reach deep inside of me. Like, and it was things I didn't even realize, but other people did and like pointed it out to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize I was doing that, but I don't know. And then, a big tip, don't have a loft bed. I made that mistake. That was my worst cataplexy attack because I fell out of my loft bed and got knocked out on my nightstand. So that's not a good idea.
Yeah, so for me, the biggest tip is like drinking a lot of water and then not eating carbs, like eating protein. I mean, that helps so much. I need to do better with that lately, but it does. I mean, my brain works so much better when I'm not eating a lot of carbs and I'm eating protein. And then being active, like I have an active job because I teach golf, but I do get sleepy sometimes, and then I'll like do like more activity like squats or, jumping jacks a little bit, and it kind of, I'm out of place, and so that like wakes me up. I think you had a question.
Thanks. Well, it's not actually a question. It was just a comment on something that Phebe said at the end of her sharing, that boundaries are not selfish, they're self-respect. But I've also found that not only are they self-respect, but they're also a sign of respecting others. Because if I want to be present for someone, for example, if I've planned a catch-up coffee date with a friend, I need to make sure that when I'm there, I am there and not partially asleep. So I look at it in that way as well. I will prepare myself by planning ahead when I'm going to take my nap or go to bed early, like I did last night, because I had to be here for 8:15 or something. And I was like, this is a narcolepsy event. Why are we starting so early? But just that, respecting other people, because I felt I will be respecting others who are here by being here on time if I plan to go to bed early and not try to take a 15-minute nap because I woke up 15 minutes earlier than I'd planned to, because then I'll be in bed for another hour. So yeah, I just wanted to add that it's not just about me, but also other people.
great point. Any other questions?
Hi, thank you to all the panelists for this session. I'm also a person who has multiple diagnoses. I'm really supposed to take multiple medications and do different techniques throughout the day, but I'm pretty bad at being consistent. And I was wondering if you guys had any tools or strategies that you would recommend for somebody who has to manage all of these things on a daily basis.
So I can speak to the medication because I take a lot of medications. If you open up my cabinet, it's a pharmacy for sure. But what I do is, so for me, medication day is like Sunday for me to get everything all together. So I have like, Sunday through Saturday, a box that has all my medications I'm supposed to put in there. So I organize that by day. And then I will, let's say I'm doing it on a Sunday, right? So Sunday night, I'll put it in a cup when I'm supposed to have it at night, and I'll put it by my nightstand. And then for the morning, I'll have the medication ready, and that'll be on my nightstand, so that I can easily get it with some water or something like that. That has really helped me out a lot, because when I didn't do that, I couldn't remember. I would look in the box, right, and be like, oh, the pill's gone, or what happened? Like, did I drop it? Did I really take it? I couldn't remember. So I would think that if you have a lot of medications like that, that you just, I think that would be a good strategy. At least it worked for me.
I agree with that. I have a pill prep day. I used to have it at the same time as my meal prep, but meal prep has kind of fallen off. But pill prep is very important. And so I have a whole lot of medications I take too. Just also talking to your doctor to make sure which ones you should not take around each other, and having them help you get a schedule for taking it. So I had him help me decide which ones were morning, mid-morning, afternoon, mid-afternoon, evening, and then I have I have it up. It's not here. I don't know why I'm pointing over to my table, but it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the whole week. But everything's individual. So I have a case that zips, but then each one I can take out separately. And then if it's gone, you took it, hopefully, or didn't lose it. But yeah, just make sure you have because there was some that I was taking that were not supposed to be taken together, or some that's side effects affect other things. So also you can say no to your doctor. They were I want you to be on this. I'm but I don't want to be on that because it's affecting this. And why do I be on more pills? Can I just go back to where it was working with less pills? You don't have to say yes. Yes, they are experts, and you can take their advice into consideration, but you know yourself better too. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I would say it's helpful to pair taking a certain medication with another behavior, or even a sensory thing, or even with your nighttime routine. Maybe you're used to the same scents or textures, so it's kind of a way to reinforce for your brain that this is a routine. So think about what habits you can combine with sensory cues. That's
routine is so important. I feel if we keep doing the same things all the time, it'll become a habit. And I have a pretty good routine, but then sometimes I don't, and then I get in bad habits, and then it's hard to get back on the routine. But once you keep doing it, it really works. And you brushing your teeth. And then alarms for medications, I think, might be helpful. I sometimes forget my afternoon pill. I think I need to set an alarm. So, any other questions?
Yes, I was diagnosed a year ago with narcolepsy type 2, and at 57, and it has totally upended my entire life, my career, everything. And I truly believe that everyone needs laughter every day. How long did it take for you to be able to laugh at your own issue? Because I'm not there yet.
I don't know if I can give like a exact time, because it also depends on who I'm around, like who I feel safe around. So I was on the committee for helping plan one of the Step Up for Sleep events in West Virginia, and one of my coworkers was like, people with narcolepsy can run? How do you run? I'm like this, and I just start running around. So I mean, like, people are gonna ask weird questions that don't make sense, and like I don't know, it just took, I think it's just so many years of just people just, I don't know. I don't think I can give it time, because like I go through ups and downs, and there's still some times where I'm like right before coming here, my coworker's like, you need to go see your narcolepsy friends again, because that will reset you. So like, it's just like being around people that get it help a lot.
For me, definitely within the past 4 years. For the first like 8 years, I mean, and it's fine if it takes you time, like seriously. At first, it was like having narcolepsy was so like serious and heavy, and like it had so much control over me, and it's like you're doomed. It'll take some time, and the more that you're kind to yourself, and the more you learn about it, like, yeah, you'll get there. But man, like the narrative I had was like so one-sided, but that'll change. Yeah.
So I definitely understand how it feels being diagnosed so late in life. It really does just turn your life upside down, because you're just going along like normal, and then boom, this happens. But for me, it had to do with I surround myself with people that are very upbeat and positive, and so they would laugh a lot when I would tell them my stories. And initially, I'm like, this is not funny, right? But over time, like a year or so, it started to become funny to me. Like I could retell you the story about being at the White House, right? That's funny, right? But it wasn't funny when it was happening. There would be times where I don't know why this was happening, but it was like for a period of like 4 or 5 months where I would fall asleep on the toilet. And they would be for hours, actually. And one night I actually hit my head. I fell and I hit my head, and that was not funny. But I was at a dinner, and I had told some friends, and guess what? Everybody knew then. So they were all talking about it and laughing. And now sometimes even when I call some friends, they'll do like this: Roy, are you still there? Because they're used to me like having fallen asleep. So you will laugh. You will laugh in time.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard to live with. We all just have to find our way. Narcolepsy isn't who we are. It's just part of it's just part of us. It's like our story. And I think the more you focus on, figuring out how to like take care of yourself and then live your life, doing the things that you want to do, set priorities. And I don't know. I mean, narcolepsy really made me who I am, and like I don't know how I would have turned out otherwise. I have no idea. I just kind of accept it, and I'm kind of grateful for what I have. And like I said earlier, I don't have that. I thought I was losing all my muscles, so I guess it was easier for me to, I could still play golf and whatever. But I think once you accept it, I think then you'll be able to laugh at yourself. I mean, because I laugh at myself all the time, because my memory is terrible, and I try really hard. And I get foggy and whatever, and I work with a whole bunch of guys, and I don't even know if they even know what narcolepsy is, or they forget I have it, or they think I'm totally normal, but they all laugh at me, and I am fine with it, really. It's fun. It just makes life a little more interesting.
I have one more story to tell about falling asleep. So when I was going through all the testing, one of the tests I had to do was an MRI. And you know how loud those are, right? Well, apparently I was sleeping pretty good in them because when I came out, the first thing the guy's like, you must have been really tired. I'm like, why are you saying that? He's like, because I could hear you snoring.
Any more questions?
I actually have a question for the group.
Yes.
Yes. So, how many of you have IH or narcolepsy? And how many of you binge eat? Oh, okay, I'm a good company. So I don't know if you have a way to give me some pointers about this, but I'm on a gluten-free diet, and I love a particular brand of cookies, Tate's, chocolate chip cookies. I just love them. Well, many times I wake up in the morning and I see all these crumbs in my bed. I'm like, how in the world did they get there? So I'm just wondering if anybody has any pointers, please let me know.
I have one. I don't buy ice cream because I can't have it in my freezer because I can't stop eating it. So I just don't buy it. But then it's a problem because my oldest kid works at an ice cream factory and has brought home, the last time it was 48 cases of ice cream. They did not fit in the deep freezer. I brought them to work, tried to get rid. That was almost a year ago. We still have ice cream, but luckily I don't eat gluten, and it had gluten in it. So just don't buy it.
So I'm gluten and dairy free as well. So I think some of my tricks are that when I go grocery shopping, I only shop for my husband, and I will buy food that I know I cannot eat. So it stops me from eating it. I also, if I do want cookies or ice cream or something like that, I only allow myself to buy it at certain times. So our ice cream time is at night, but that's also when I'm the most tired. So if I really want it, I'll go get it. But usually I'm too tired to go get it. So that helps too.
So I feel actually perfect for this question because I'm working on my master's in nutrition, but my husband is gluten and dairy allergic to that stuff. There are actually a lot of good brands out there nowadays. 5 years ago, it was awful in the gluten-free, dairy-free scene. There's a brand called Sweet Loren's. You do have to bake them. They're like the little cookies you throw in the oven. Maybe that extra step might stop you from wanting them.
Perfect, that will work.
And they're really good. They're very similar to Chips Ahoy. So if you could think of that, I personally like them better than Chips Ahoy. So that extra step might help you. So if you really, really want them, you're gonna have to bake them. But Sweet Loren's, and they do have sugar cookies, double chocolate, chocolate chip, oatmeal. They have a lot of flavors, and they're gluten, dairy-free, egg-free. They are amazing. I don't know if this helped you or other people, but...
No, it helped.
Can you bake one at a time, or you got to bake the whole pack?
You can bake them one at a time, and you can also eat the cookie dough raw, because there's no eggs in there.
I got the problem of eating too many of them. Anybody else? Yes.
Well, thank you for asking the question. I wanted to ask it earlier, but I just wondered if I might be the only one in the room. But anyway, I really still struggle with that element, but I found that when I go to bed at, my right time, within my right window, I struggle with it less. So the later I'm up at night, it seems the hungrier I get, because I suppose I read somewhere that the sleepier we get also, the more we are inclined towards wanting to binge on carbs. So I try to maintain my nighttime sleep time. It doesn't always work, but that's one tip for me.
Have y'all seen the movie Gremlins? Yeah. If not, watch it.
So like one thing I've did with food, which staying awake to do homework, I feel like I just eat constantly in order to stay awake. But like carrots give crunch, chips could give crunch, but I choose carrots. Or popcorn is something that's like large quantity, but now I just give up on doing homework and go to bed instead. But like I got accommodations, so now I can turn in work late. So